October 3rd, 2021. Today's message is being submitted pursuant to a request that I received 2 days ago. I received a request to write and publish a newspaper article exposing the fallacy and insanity of a queen, a homecoming queen, being selected based on how much money was raised. Here in Linden, Alabama, homecoming is around the corner. And for years and years, they have made the homecoming queen the young lady who raises the most money. And I was asked to donate to a certain young lady to help her become homecoming queen. I donated. And I saw the list, one list of the names of persons who had already donated and the amounts that they had donated. I won't comment on the amounts, won't even identify the person that made the request. But when I made my donation, I said that the person who becomes homecoming queen should be one who has the highest scholastic average, the one with the best conduct and with the best grades in school, should receive that designation as the queen for homecoming. Here in Linden, Alabama, I believe in freedom of the press. At one time, I published a newsletter in Linden, Alabama entitled The Linden Times. And in each weekly edition of that newsletter, I had a statement which said that we will receive and get freedom of the press when we buy a press and pay for it and control it. That's when we get freedom of the press. So I had to scrap the idea, sidestep the idea of publishing or writing an article and then taking it to town to get some newspaper publisher, pay some newspaper publisher to print the views that I expressed to this person that solicited me for a donation. So I'll submit to you a little historical perspective on education here in Linden, Alabama, which was formally initiated in 1901 by the founding fathers of Linden Academy. One leader of the founding fathers was my great-grandfather, Ed Shields, who gave 12 acres of his 70-acre estate, his 70-acre 1891 estate, to the trustees of Linden Academy. Founding fathers were more than a half a dozen Black Baptist churches in Marengo County that started the first school for Black folks. Wasn't no Muslim school, wasn't no Methodist school, The Presbyterians did some help in Wilcox and other counties, but the Baptists pioneered education in Linden. My great-grandfather was one of the pioneers, founding fathers, 1901. And something happened in 1963. The school was transferred from the church to the state. That's right. Just so happened that Ed Shields' daughter, May Frances Adams, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was one of the church officials who had to sign the deed and property transferring ownership from Linden Academy, from the church trustees, transferring ownership over to the state. I was 11th grade. Why my grandmother confided in me, I do not know. But here's what she said. She said, Frank, just before she signed the transfer, said, Frank, we are losing our schools because our men got weak. Whew. And when I saw Bill Cosby and that R. Kelly Williams boy, whatever his name was, I don't even know who he was, but their pictures are pasted on social media as weak black men. Somebody benefits from weak black men. And it's certainly not the black school, and it is certainly not the black family. But she said to me, we're losing our school because our men got weak. I want you to know that money does not make real queens. Scholastic success, good grades, and good conduct will make every young lady a queen. I tell you where this business came from, this money-raising business came from. In the old days, when the church had to finance the operation of the school, our schools had to raise its own budget. The state government eventually kicked a few dollars in by paying the teachers' salaries, but the teachers had to rake and scrape the operating expenses for the school. That old 1901 model of school finance is outdated. And the few dollars that the girls raised to become queen are not included in any annual report. The public, the contributors to the fund, receive no information about fund disbursement or anything of the sort. There are two systems of education in Alabama in 2021. These systems have been in place for generations, since the beginning of time. The white school system and don't want to use any profanity, but Brown versus Board of Education didn't do anything to integrate the schools of Linden, Alabama. Think about it. And if you live in and around Linden, Alabama, or any other cities in the South, or nationwide, you will know that Brown versus Board of Education was a unanimous scam. And Thurgood Marshall said to Carl Rowan, as he was retiring from the U.S. Supreme Court after decades of service, Thurgood Marshall told he said, Carl, he said, we are not free after serving all those years on the Supreme Court. And he said, we are nowhere near free. And he complained about all of the justices on the court being invited to special clubs and given membership, all the Supreme Court justices, but him. So Brown v. Board of Education was a scam. I'll go further to tell you that I am a product of the city of Linden public education system. Thank God I got to a prestigious university and did some studying there and graduated. But I have learned this down through the years, that whites are taught to be in control, and blacks are taught to be under control. We were taught in high school. I remember the day, remember the classroom that I was in, remember the instructor. I was in the same classroom that I sat in with my other classmates when we learned about U.S. President John Kennedy being shot, killed. Same classroom. I'm not going to identify the instructor, but I have a few classmates around the country that will be able to identify with my statement here. I'm not going to identify the teacher, but here's what he said to us in that same room where he told us that John Kennedy had been killed. He said to us, you can't change the system, but you have to work within the system. High school student, I'm taught that I can't change the system. Got to work within it. Whew. My views on education were confirmed by my friend and neighbor, Miss Evelyn Vaughn, a teacher all of her working years at the L. Johnson High School in Thomaston, Alabama. She was my neighbor and my friend. And I questioned her about education in Alabama, and I ran my thoughts about education by her, and she confirmed the truth of my suspicion. My friend, as black students, we were taught what to think, and white folk were taught how to think. Blacks were taught that they couldn't change the system, and at the same time, white students were taught that they had a duty to change the system if they had a better system to put in its place. So 2 days ago, I was asked for a donation to help a certain lady become Linden High School's homecoming queen. Yes, the child that raised the most money would become the school's queen. I think that is pure insanity and robs the students of their integrity and places money in the wrong vein. When money is used as a measurement of school success, we give our students the wrong message. Money, oh, my friend, don't make the queen. Money don't make the man. Man make the money. Queens make the money. Money don't make queens. Now, I'm going to hurry up, get on out of here. But there's a lady by the name of Marion Marshall. She was a state of California education consultant. And she taught course UCLA, course on principles and methods of instruction in the school. Principles and methods of instruction. She taught another class. Yeah, but I took that course that Marion Marshall taught. And the four things that she drove home in that course, she talked about establish a lesson plan, learning objectives. The lesson plan. Every school teacher in every class has a lesson plan. And that lesson plan, number one, tells the objectives, the goals and objectives that the teacher has. Number two, it tells how the teacher will instruct the students. Number three, that lesson plan sets down a timetable, a schedule that the teacher is to follow in teaching the people and achieving the learning objectives. I said to the mayor-elect, I said, I want you to make me the president of the Board of Education, because every classroom that I walk into, I want to see that lesson plan on the teacher's desk. That's where it's supposed to be. It's a plan. And you parents, ask the teacher, schedule a conference with the teacher, and ask the teacher to show you the lesson plan that she is following or he is following in teaching your child. What methods is she using to instruct them? What are the ways and means she is using to teach the child? And then how is she measuring the child's results? Education. Was it Carter G. Woodson that published a book entitled A Miseducation of Negroes in America? I think that was Woodson. Well, it's time to bring an end to this quasi-prostitution that has been promulgated with this homecoming queen election business. That's the end of the message for today. End of the message, education in Alabama. Historical perspective. I bid you Godspeed without a benediction. Goodbye.